What's up, wizards? It's Deb, Mtg. We like magic. We do like magic, I promise you. Today, fresh out the shower with some takes, fresh out of the oven. Well, I was gonna stream tonight, but then some news broke yesterday, and I realized I should probably spend today making a video. And if you've been around for a while, you know that I'm in the middle of the couch. That means we need to talk. And second of all, I also like to wait 24 hours at least before I give my opinion on pretty much anything that happens in the community. I think it's healthy to do that and not just provide a knee-jerk, reactionary take, because that's what's destroying YouTube and society at large, in fact. This is a conversation for a different day. I just like to kind of chill on things, sleep on it, mull over it, and really give it some thought before I get on camera and just start spouting garbage. I like to really give things some thought and attention. So I've been doing that over the last 24 hours and absorbing the discourse. Everything started early yesterday morning, and I again saw the discourse, the conversation evolve over the course of the day. And ultimately, I'm kind of glad that I stayed out of it for a couple of reasons, but I'm still gonna offer my opinion because a lot of people have asked for it. But let's back up for a second. All right. What am I even talking about? I am on about Jumpstart Historic Horizons right now, which is kind of the talk of the community, but you may have missed it. It's possible to miss things. Bless you for missing things. I would love that life. Anyway, what this is it's a 782 card set that's coming to Historic on Arena on August the 12th. Of these 782 cards, 372 of them new to Arena. It's like a whole new set for Historic. And 31 of them are brand new, absolutely new to Magic cards that will probably never exist in paper because they kind of can't. That's because all of these brand new cards work around 3 different mechanics, 2 of which are based fairly heavily, from what we can tell so far, upon RNG, which, yes, is fairly similar to some other digital card games you may have played or experienced in the past. Yes, you're not seeing things. That's happening. Anyway, these 3 new mechanics include Seek, which basically randomly tutors for a card without you searching your deck or shuffling your deck. The client just looks through your deck for you and puts a card that meets the criteria into your hand. So if a card asks you to seek for a 2-drop, then Arena will just put a 2-drop from your deck into your hand, again, without you looking through your deck or shuffling it. So that's pretty randomized. But there's also Conjure, which isn't always random, but we've seen a couple of cards that work with Conjure randomly so far. But Conjure basically creates a copy of a card and puts that card into your hand, which would be not impossible to do, I guess, in real life, but pretty hard to do in real life. We've already seen one card that is very RNG and works with Conjure, where you basically conjure a random spell from a list of spells into your hand. So that's very, very much based on RNG. And again, couldn't work very well in real life, or wouldn't work very fluidly in real life. And then finally, the last mechanic is actually one that I kind of like. Don't tell anybody, but I kind of like Perpetual. Perpetual, basically, let's say you give a creature -1/-1 perpetually. Well, that means that even if it moves between zones, it'll keep -1/-1. So it's not like counters. It's kind of like a counter that stays on the creature forever, if you want to look at it that way. So if I give a creature -1/-1 and it dies, and my opponent reanimates it, it still has the -1/-1. Again, this would be a little tough to keep track of in paper, but I don't think it would be impossible necessarily. I don't hate Perpetual. Well, you may have spotted a few issues with this. First of all, and I think the most important issue, besides some things that I just don't like subjectively, right? I think objectively, though, a problem with this is the economy. I haven't really explained how this event works yet. Basically, you cannot just buy and then open Jumpstart packs. You can't do it. There's an event that features Jumpstart that will run from August the 12th to September the 9th. And you can play in that event for, I think it's 2,000 gold or 400 gems, and open Jumpstart packs that way. But that's the only time you can open Jumpstart packs. Is that less than a month worth of play, and there's 782 cards in the set. So if you want specific cards, and then 4 of specific cards, then good luck. You're paying a lot of money. You're paying 2,000 gold a pop. to enter that event. You're paying a lot of money. And then after the event is over, you still can't just purchase Jumpstart packs, you big silly. You can't do that. You just have to make up for whatever you didn't get in the event by spending wild cards. That's all you have to do. It's not a big deal. Just spend all of your wild cards and then some. I mean, this article says that of the 372 new to MTG Arena cards, remember there's 782 cards in the set, but of the 300 that are new to Arena, there's 56 rares. And there's going to be more rares in the set than that, but if you want specifically cards that are new to Arena, there's 56 rares and 13 mythics in this set that are new to Arena. So even if you only need, like, I don't know, half of the rares, but you need 4 of half of those rares, that's like 100 plus wild cards that you have to spend. That's kind of ludicrous if you want to invest in the historic format, and I feel really bad for anyone that was already invested in the historic format. So both availability and economy in this case are stinky. It's real pee-pee. It's bad. It's so availability is bad on this one. If you want to play historic, you kind of have to be a whale at this point. I don't even think that's a subjective opinion of mine. I just think, like, God, Historic's going to be an expensive format. And if you thought that you had a grasp on it, if you thought you'd spend enough money on Historic, and you're like, I can have fun playing Historic, it's a powerful format on the digital client. I enjoy having a powerful format on the digital client that feels like playing Modern or something like that. It's not, it's going to cost some money to continue being invested in that format. And I'm sure that it turns a lot of new players off who wanted to get invested in Historic, which I kind of fit into that category. I wanted to, really dig my heels into Historic for a while here. But, there's always a new set coming out. There's always more standard stuff to do. But it's always been on my to-do list to really crack into the Historic format because it's one that interests me. But that's going to be next to impossible, even for someone who, like, I get to purchase stuff on Arena and then, like, write it off on my taxes because it's part of my job. I get to legally do that. And still, even for someone like me, it's not free at the point of sale, right? But even for someone like me who has that luxury, that obvious luxury, I'm still not going to spend all that money on Historic. Are you crazy? I'm not doing that. I've heard the argument a few times that, like, it's only Historic, and that argument is almost certainly being made by people who don't play Historic. I don't really play Historic, but I also think it's important to have empathy. I mean, just in any situation for just about anybody. I think that nuance is important. I think, again, that empathy is important. And even though I'm not a Historic player, I still feel for all the Historic players who are saddened by this. I've also seen a lot of people who aren't necessarily, it's not that they're turned off by the economy or the availability, or maybe they are, but added to that is the fact that I've seen a lot of, like, ex-Hearthstone players in different YouTubers' comment sections and on Twitter and whatnot, who are basically saying, I moved over from Hearthstone to Magic because I was kind of sick of the RNG stuff. So this is lame. Of course, the counter argument to that is that it's Historic and just play Standard. But again, I actually don't think that's as good of an argument as people who use it seem to think that it is, right? Like, just play a different format is, what if they did something akin to this or something equally egregious to the Modern format? And Modern players, had obvious and agreeable complaints about it. And someone told them, just play Standard, just play Legacy, it's fine, whatever, who cares? Just play something else. It's just not a good argument, especially for people who have spent a lot of time and effort and emotional energy, not to mention the money, on, trying to crack into Historic and break that format and really invest in it. So, again, I think it's kind of flippant and reductive, which I've seen a lot of reductive replies over the last couple of days. Because, again, Historic players who are ticked off by this and who have been invested in Historic for months or even a year at this point, I think you definitely have obvious, understandable reasons for being upset, and just people saying, like, just play something else. It's not, it's like super glib. I've also gone on record a bunch of times, and this is really subjective, okay? And I understand that, and it's probably what people are going to hit me on the most. But I've said before that I'm not a huge fan of booting up my Magic the Gathering and playing against cards that don't exist in Magic the Gathering. I don't like it in best of one Standard. I know, just play best of three. right? But I like to bang out games quickly some of the time, especially because I got stuff to do. I got personal relationships, and I got a wife, and I love her. I want to spend time with her. I had other stuff to do. I got house stuff to do. I got stuff. I got animals to take care of. Sometimes it's fun just to bang out a few games. But as soon as somebody plays like a Hallowed Priest against me, it's not that Hallowed Priest is a broken magic card or anything. It's just, it doesn't exist. It's not a real... You can't... There's not a paper version of that card. Or like Mardu Outrider. The 3-mana 5/5 discard a card when it ETBs. It's like, that card is actually really good. And like, if I'm, say, testing a standard deck for a deck tech or something, and I run into Hallowed Priest or Mardu Outrider or whatever it's called, I'm always like, well, this is a non-game because I'm testing for games of standard. And people who are playing standard are never going to come up against this card. So it's, again, just like always perturbs me when I have to play against cards that there's no like real life analog to. But again, that's very subjective. And I've even seen people say, like, use the argument, like, don't you know that there were already digital only versions of cards on Arena? And it's like, yeah, and we've said a million times we hate that. Like, not everybody hates that, but I'm definitely in the camp that's just like perturbed by it. But I tolerate it, right? Like, these all come from welcome decks, all these, you know, Hallowed Priest and Outrider, all that stuff. They all come from welcome decks, but I think that the solution is to just not make up cards that don't exist. Just like, you know, please make welcome decks. Please make, you know, free decks available to Arena players who are just starting out. I think that's really important. Budget is important. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. So I don't have any problem with welcome decks existing. It's just like, use cards that exist. Use those cards. You know, why are you making up cards that don't exist? And I randomly have to play against in best of one. Like, on ladder. What? I don't understand. But anyway, I've made it very clear that I don't like cards that there's no real life analog to. And again, that's very subjective. And I recognize that. So you don't have to hit me for it. I've seen so many people who are like, why are people even mad about that thing? And it's like, if you're not mad about it, it's totally fine. That's cool. That's cool. I'm trying not to be mad about it because it's a card game, right? Who cares? There's like way more important things to be mad about, which is part of the benefit of waiting 24 hours before I do any opinion video on like an MTG news piece, right? Because like, sometimes when things happen, I'm like, ooh! And then like 24 hours later, I'm like, yeah, I'll live with it. That's kind of how I feel with this. I'm not like super comfortable with it, but I don't play Historic. Again, I'm empathetic to Historic players. I really am. I think this is kind of ridiculous in a lot of ways. But will I still play Magic? Will I still play the client? Yes. You know, and they know that. Wizards knows. Hasbro knows that. Like, these guys, they're going to keep playing. They're addicted. I've been playing Magic for 26 years, and I'm probably not going to stop. You know, there's like Walking Dead and Stranger Things cards, and that I wasn't like enough of a chud to hate that in such a way that it caused me to quit Magic. This isn't going to do it either. I'm going to keep playing. I'm going to keep loving it. It's the best game of all time. And that's not even me like paying lip service or anything. I genuinely think that Magic's the best game like ever created, for a lot of different reasons. It's a whole YouTube video worth of stuff. But this. You're cribbing from other card games, and you don't need to do that. A lot of people play Magic because it's Magic the Gathering. A lot of people quit other digital card games to play Magic because they were sick of the things that you're bringing in. And again, it's not even that I feel this way. It's just that I'm representing other people's viewpoints. But I definitely, let me just say, I understand those viewpoints. But there is nuance to it. Of course there's nuance to it. You know, I see people the last couple of days who, again, say, like, why are people mad about it? I don't even understand why people are mad about this. And that's actually a fairly healthy mindset when you think about it. However, I've seen some things that are not healthy mindsets at all, coming from the who cares about this crowd or the ooh, Magic players mad crowd. That's one thing I keep seeing on social media is people who are just above it. Like, oh, nerds fighting over cards. And it's like, you play the game too. You don't have an opinion on this whatsoever. Like, you're just going to pretend to be just above it. And like if you are and you really don't have an opinion whatsoever, I guess that's fine. But I've seen big name content creators with effectively this opinion, like, who cares? And it's like, there are a lot of reasons, like legitimate reasons to care. Again, the economy and the availability are obvious reasons to care, even if you don't care about playing against, there being cards that work completely on RNG that won't have any real off analog. You don't have to care about that. If that's not important to you, that's totally fine. But when it comes to the economy, there are definitely real complaints that I think are worth listening to. So just being, again, reductive about it. And people have been reductive over and over. Like, I see big name content creators, and I'm not going to name any names because I love all the people. I love everyone that's making these takes, and like seeing them make these takes doesn't make me love them any less. So I don't want to name names and get in like big fights because I don't think it's not worth it, and I love these people. But I've seen people who basically, like, if you don't like this, then you are dumb. Or you're entitled. That's a weird one. That's a really weird one to say. Or worst of all, you're like bad. You're like evil somehow if you have the opinion that this is not good. I've seen a lot of people just like belittle people and like just straight up call people dumb on Twitter. Like, again, big name content creators I respect. Or just like calling people stupid on Twitter for having the opinion that this is kind of poo-poo. A little poo-poo it is, slightly. And it's just amazing how many non-arguments, how many reductive statements I've seen from otherwise kind, thoughtful content creators. Because we've apparently chosen sides. We've drawn lines on this, and I don't really... That's weird. Isn't that... It's weird. I've also seen the economical argument addressed by a couple of different content creators, one of whom I really respect, and I watch a lot of their content. But again, not naming names. But I've seen a couple of content creators with the take that, like, Matt, you gotta have money to play Magic. You gotta sorry, losers. You gotta have money to play Magic. And that is so gross. It's a disgusting take that runs antithetical to everything that made me start the channel in the first place. I think that Magic shouldn't cost... I'm very, oh god, it kind of tilts me even thinking about that take, because it's, again, I've seen it multiple times. You may be thinking of a specific content creator, but I've seen this from multiple content creators. Like, oh, Magic's expensive, you just gotta get over it. And it's like, I advocate for proxies. I advocate hard for budget. I think it is possible, especially in like an F&M type environment, to find budget answers to, top level decks that don't break the bank. And I built my channel around it. And I get emails to this day from people, oh, your $25 deck, helped me win my F&M, against these top tier decks and stuff. I still get these emails. And I have always believed that Magic shouldn't have to be expensive to enjoy and win. And especially, and that's paper Magic, but especially on a model that touts itself as free to play. But this, that's just, I don't think just make more money, bruh. Like that's an out of touch argument, no matter what you're talking about. Even if you're talking about a card game, something relatively inconsequential in the scheme of things, right? It's still, that's not the take. That is not it, Chief. I have also heard the argument, this one from almost everybody, it feels like. This is probably the most common argument I see, is that this is Magic's game, this is Wizards' game, it's really Hasbro's game. Not to put my tinfoil hat on, but I think a lot of decisions are coming directly from Hasbro on this one, and a lot of other things. But anyway, the take tends to go something like, this is Wizards' game, this is Wizards' client, this is Wizards' digital-only format in Historic, and they can do whatever they want with it. And that sounds convincing at first glance, but all formats, and this is going to sound like nebulous or kind of silly, probably to some people. It's going to sound like a Hallmark or a Lifetime movie, right? Like, it's a little saccharine, but it's true. Formats belong to players. right? Like, even Historic, right? You look at a format like Historic, do you guys even remember, like, what was it, 4 to 6 months ago, something like that? It's probably longer than that. Time moves in a weird way. But it was a while back when Wizards decided that Historic wildcards, they're going to take 2 wildcards if you want to craft a card for Historic. You're going to have to use 2 wildcards to craft them Historic cards. And 3 days later, they decided to not do that. Why? How come? They reversed their decision on that. Oh yeah, it's because the people who play Historic were like, no, you're not going to do that. This is why they ban cards. This is why they suspend cards. This is why they used to restrict cards. This is why they came up with the reserve list policy in the first place, is because a bunch of people rallied for that thing. I hate the reserve list, don't get me wrong, but Wizards is a company, and companies have to listen to their customers, or shareholders in a lot of cases. But, there's a reason why they make certain decisions. There's a reason they made the decision to make Historic cards cost just as many wild cards as any other card. And that's because the people who play those formats yell, whether you like it or not. They can do what they want with the format. It is theirs at the end of the day, but they would be fools not to listen to people, is the point I'm making. And in the end, they usually do listen to people because people play the format. It might be Wizards format, but you don't have it if there's no one to play it. So again, to summarize, probably bad. This is probably bad. Again, for subjective reasons, I am one of those weirdos. I guess we're weirdos. I didn't think we were. Apparently we're weirdos. People, I'm going to get, please don't hate me. But I don't much care for playing against cards for which there is no real life analog, and I'm especially not going to like it if they are cards that are almost entirely based upon, like, RNG, right? And I know the variance argument. I didn't address the variance. Oh, the variance argument. The variance argument is that, a mechanic like Seek is just based on RNG. A mechanic like Conjure, in some cases, is just completely based on RNG, and it introduces a very high level of variance that people aren't comfortable with. And people are like, well, did you know that Seek is actually less variance than drawing a card? Yeah, I know that. Everybody knows. It's just like well, did you know there were already digital-only cards? Yes, we know. We hate it. Yes. But anyway, how do I address the it's just like drawing a card argument, or better than drawing a card argument? First of all, we haven't seen all the cards that work around these mechanics or anything like that, so we don't know how random it's going to get. We just saw a card with Conjure that you tap it and it goes and gets one of 9 or 10 different cards. And you can't control what it goes and gets. And again, that degree of variance, it's not just me saying this. There are former Hearthstone players in every comment section on the internet right now talking about, this is the RNG that made me leave Hearthstone. So, I don't know. Don't shoot the messenger, but I kind of feel that way too in some ways. So, the random aspect of it is kind of weird to me. And so is the playing against cards that don't exist. But I guess I don't have to play Historic. But again, if you don't play Historic, it's super easy to have that opinion. Maybe have some empathy for people who do play Historic. But aside from that, there are actual, tangible, objective, real reasons to be upset about this, a lot of which center around the economy, the wild card you have to actually spend to do anything in Historic now. And, of course, the availability, because the set, the thing, it's only going to be available to even play the event for, less than a month. There's 782 cards in the set, so that decreases availability, obviously, a larger card pool. And then afterwards, you can't, open packs. It's just, availability is just bad by design. And that's part of why I think that it's obvious that, of course, this makes people mad. It seems like the economy and availability side of this seems bad by design. And, I think you can get upset with, super greedy corporate practices. And, WotC gets so much crap for this when they don't deserve it, that I think it causes people sometimes to, in a knee-jerk way, be always, defending these kind of practices because, so many people have cried wolf before. WotC is a company. They need to make money. They need to please their shareholders. They need to make more profit every year because that's how capitalism works. But it's at the same time, they made like more money last year than they've like ever made before. By a lot, if I'm to understand correctly how that earnings report went. But I think so many people have again cried wolf and have like gotten mad at WotC for being greedy in the past when they're just like doing normal corporate stuff. It causes a lot of like good-natured, otherwise well-meaning people to defend some decisions that are outwardly obviously greedy, and I think I'm pretty sure that this move qualifies. Always nuance, but in this case, I think it's a pretty clear-cut, like, kind of an infuriating move for a few different reasons. Again, whether there's just stuff that you don't like about it, or it gives you a bad feeling, or whatever subjective nonsense thing that is in some ways very valid that you feel, or if it's again some objective stuff like the economy. I think that there are reasons to be upset about that, and people's feelings in that way are valid. And I just, again, before I close the video, I have to say one more time, just to reiterate, that I am really not understanding the amount of like big name, usually good faith content creators who are on Twitter talking about like, you're stupid, you're an entitled idiot if you feel this way. What? It's going a little far, man. Like, honestly, don't you listen to people's complaints instead of just immediately being like, huh, you're dumb. Like, what kind of argument is that? Anyway, that's probably what bugs me the most about this. It's not even like the fact that it's happening. It's just like the reaction, like the way the discourse evolved over the course of yesterday was like, this happening, thing bad. Oh, people who think thing bad are stupid. And that happened later on in the day. Like 5 p.m. I started seeing like big name people be like, oh, if you don't like this, you're a dum-dum. And it's like, what? What are you doing? I don't know. I think people have understandable, real complaints about this, is all I'm saying. And a lot of content creators are being like really flippant about it. So I don't know. I don't know how anyone's going to feel about anything I've said in this video. It's probably going to get a billion dislikes, but like, I am surprised by the number of people who would normally have some things to say about this, who don't. So I figured I'd say some things, and I hope you enjoyed it. Even if you don't, I at least hope you found it interesting and that you don't, hate me for thinking some of the things I do about this particular move. But that's kind of all I've got for now. I hope I said everything that I wanted to say, because there's like a bunch of stuff that I wanted to say, but it's really hard for me to organize my thoughts just naturally. I am diagnosed ADHD, so like it's tough, and I don't write scripts for any videos, and like this is probably the kind of video I should write a script for, but then it won't feel as real, and I just kind of want to sit down with you and have like a chat and give you my real feelings, kind of unedited as much as possible, because I think, again, it's important to be real in these like news or vlog segments or whatever. I feel like if I actually wrote a script, it wouldn't be as authentic or anything. So yeah, that's it. I think that's all. But anyway, more actual like standard Magic related content coming up. More standard 22 stuff, deck techs and top 10s and all that stuff. We got a stream coming up tomorrow, so check out all these links. Support the channel. Watch me play Magic. All that stuff if you want to. Self promotion. Blah blah. Like the video. Share it around. I guess do that stuff. Subscribe to the channel if you enjoy stuff like this and other MTG things. And yeah, it just doesn't feel. Self-promotion doesn't feel right at the end of this video. I feel more contemplative than like, hey, watch my stuff. I just don't really feel that way for this video. But hey, watch my stuff. That's all I really got to say. But anyway, let me know how you feel in the comments section about all this big old mess that we got on our hands. I guess I'll catch you cats later. I'm Deb from The Place. Thanks for watching, Wizards. Spread love and be kind.